I'm now in week 2 of water only OMAD, 1 meal a day fasting, and I'm giving you guys an update here. This is crazy. Like, seriously, I can't believe I didn't try this sooner. I'm gonna break everything down for you guys. I've been sharing along the way in Instagram, and you guys have been watching along throughout these last 2 weeks. Last week I did a 5-day update, and in that video I broke down like exactly what I was eating and a lot more details as far as like my blood glucose and how that responded. But today I'm gonna go through some of the benefits I've experienced. Have I been hungry? Have I been starving? What's been going on? As well as update you guys on the fat loss that I've seen here in week 2. So there's all different types of fasts that you can do. You can do a 16 8-hour fast, which means you are fasted for 16 hours and you have all of your food within an 8-hour window. You can do longer fasts than that. You can go 19 hours fasted and put all of your food within a 5-hour window. You can go 20 hours fasted. You can go 22 hours fasted. You can go 24 hours fasted. OMAD, what I'm focusing on, that is 1 meal a day. That does not mean 1 plate a day, okay? So that's where it can get confusing for a lot of people. So with 1 meal a day, what I decided to do is I really wanted to focus on the autophagy, which is the cellular cleansing, where your body recycles your own cells so that you can start aging backwards, literally. It will take anything that is unneeded, any skin, excess skin, any extra damaged debris cells that have been lying around. It's actually using those proteins within your system so that you can then convert those proteins either into glucose if you need to have available glucose for your body, or it can use those proteins to rebuild other cells in your body, right? And so using autophagy as a powerful tool, you can access autophagy basically through fasting. And so there are many health benefits to fasting other than just fat loss. Fat loss is literally a side effect of this, because what happens when you start fasting is you start balancing out your hormones. And when you balance out your hormones, it literally takes your body back to factory settings. Now, I'm someone who's been fasting for years, but I was fasting in a way where I was also consuming sweeteners, I was consuming fat coffees, I wasn't paying attention to things like chewing gum. I didn't realize that continually eating sweet, having a sweet taste in your mouth could actually be causing an insulin response. And when you have high insulin floating around in your bloodstream, insulin is a fat storing hormone. So your body cannot lose fat while the insulin is high. And so they've actually done studies, and I recently have been just reading a ton of different books, and in one of the books they were talking about this study where they took participants and they tested their insulin with just a sweetener. It doesn't matter what sweetener it is, you know, it could be monk fruit, it could be erythritol, any type of sweetener. They put it in their mouth, they tested to check to see if insulin increased. Insulin increased, okay? So the insulin increased just from the sweet flavor in their mouth. It did not do the same thing with bitter flavors. That's why we say, like, okay, black coffee is okay during this fasted time because it's bitter, as long as you're not adding sweeteners to this. So this is what I decided to test out along with the water. They tested just putting the actual sweetener in the stomach, right? Going past the saliva first initiation of digestion, because what's happening is your body is signaling your insulin to release because it senses this sweet taste, and it's like, okay, sugar's coming in, get the insulin ready to start to shuttle the glucose into the cells. And then that never happens, that never comes, and that floating insulin floats around and keeps your body from accessing and burning its own body fat for fuel. So when they put the sweetener in the stomach and went straight past the saliva, okay, part of the digestion, it literally did not spike the insulin, even though the sweetener was now in the stomach. It didn't even go pass through your mouth. And so this is very interesting, because what this means is that when you consume something in a fasted state, and I have a continuous glucose monitor installed in my arm, so I can actually see when my blood glucose spikes with different things that I'm consuming. Now, let's just take like black coffee as an example, or let's just say I put some sweetener in my black coffee, okay? Let's say I put some stevia in my black coffee, which is something I was doing before, right? And Now, on my blood glucose monitor, it's actually going to show my blood glucose either being stable, or it might even show that it drops my blood glucose a little bit. Now, what this is telling you is that insulin was released because you need insulin to drop your blood glucose. It's like you consume something, it goes down. That is your signal that your body is releasing insulin in response to whatever it is you consume. Blood glucose did not spike, and that does not mean that you did not have insulin also come into your system. So what we want to do when we're focusing on fat loss and accessing that autophagy is we want to start fasting with just plain water and a little bit of black coffee. Now, I've also done a ton of research on caffeine within the fasted window, and for some people, caffeine can cause a slight insulin release, just because you're also activating your adrenal glands, you're activating cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and those things could be an issue for some people. Sometimes when I have black coffee, I will see my blood glucose go down, which is telling me probably I had a little bit of insulin come in that moment, right? So what I tried to do is drop all of my caffeine products out, except for 1 cup of coffee per day after, and this is the big key, after 2 hours of waking, okay? Because there are also a ton of studies that show if you have that caffeine right away, right when you wake up, the coffee, that causes even more issues with the whole cortisol thing and all of that. So if you actually save the caffeinated coffee for 2 hours from when you wake up, and you can do this, trust me, you can do this. It takes a little bit of adjustment at first. You will feel tired for just a couple days when you first start doing this, but once you do it and you get into the routine of it, your body gets used to that, and you're going to have energy first thing in the morning when you wake up without needing that caffeine to like jolt the energy into you. I've been having just ice and 1 cup of black caffeinated coffee at least 2 hours from the time I wake up, and then the rest of the time I'm consuming just water, fasted that entire time, okay? And that is the only way literally that you can ensure that your body is not producing insulin within your fasted window, within your fasted state. So now with my OMAD for these 2 weeks, I did break it down in that first video. The first 5 days, you can see a little bit more of what I was doing. Now in week 2, because when you start fasting, it's like a natural appetite control. It starts balancing you out where you start losing your appetite, and your body actually will start telling you and signaling you when you're hungry, what you need, how much to eat, and you start learning how to just follow your body's lead. Your body wants to bring you to a healthy equilibrium, and when you're fasting and you're accessing those fat stores for fuel, your body now has unlimited food energy by eating your own fat as calories, right? You know how they say the whole calories in, calories out thing, that is a thing. However, your body, it doesn't take into account that your body could have 300,000 stored calories within your body that it can access at any time, right? So what we don't want to do is we don't want to lower our metabolic rate. We don't want to lower our metabolism, which is what happens when you go on a low-fat, calorie-restricted, eating 6 times a day type of diet. We don't want to do that. But when you're doing intermittent fasting and you're extending your window, and you don't have to go to the extreme of doing OMAD like what I'm doing, you can do 2 or 3 meals a day, but keep anything that might create an insulin spike within those 2 to 3 meals. Do not snack in between. Do not consume flavored drinks in between unless you're literally swapping out one of those meals for a beverage that is going to actually help you prolong and change and shift over your hormones so that you can start fasting longer. An example of this would be exogenous ketones. I use this product to kind of help me achieve this level within my fasting where I can easily do OMAD, but if I jumped straight into OMAD from eating 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day, all throughout the day, and if I just all of a sudden shifted everything to just having 1 meal a day, I know I would have crashed and burned. It would have been extremely torturous. It would have been painful, and I would have been hungry. I would have been starving the whole time. So I actually used a product to help me get to this level where fasting is literally effortless. And put it in this perspective. If right now you are consuming 3 meals a day and you want to eventually drop down to 2 meals a day, what can help you to do that? when you utilize something like nat ketones and swap that one first meal with those nat ketones, now what you're doing is you're starting to train your body to now go until lunch for your first meal, right? And it's starting to train your body not to release those hunger hormones before lunch. Remember, this is all about hormones. We want to adjust and shift our hormones around completely. So you can use that as a tool to ease right into this lifestyle so that you can start pushing your feeding window back so it gets smaller and smaller, so you're releasing insulin in a very small window of time. Now, if you eat anything, if you consume anything, you are going to release insulin. You are going to produce some level of insulin. That could be protein, that could be fat. Fat has the lowest amount of insulin that would be released, but it still releases insulin, okay? So it could be protein, it could be fat, it could be carbs. Carbs are gonna release the most amount of insulin. So your body, carbs or sugar, a big glucose spike, your body has to flood your system with insulin to lower that down so that it can shuttle all of that glucose and sugar into your cells for storage, okay? So knowing this, what you want to do if you're at the very beginning and start of this, and I think it's important for me to get this out of the way before I talk about what I'm doing, because I don't want you to just jump straight into what I'm doing and then feel like, okay, I can't even make it past like 13 hours. How the heck am I gonna go 22, 24 hours? And I'm gonna show you exactly what to do and how to do that, okay? So for the first 2 weeks, I would recommend first changing your food around so that you're actually eating foods that are not going to spike your blood glucose as much. And the best way to do that is by reducing carbohydrates, eating real whole foods, trying to stay away from processed foods, maybe focusing on like 20 net carbs or 25 to 30 net carbs a day. And then after that point, then you want to start implementing in the time restricted eating, where you're dropping out your snacks. And then once you drop out your snacks and you get to the point where you could just do 3 meals, then you're gonna wanna start taking one of those meals. You're gonna remove that, and that's where I would recommend, if it's very difficult for you, to go from the time you wake up just drinking water, having a cup of black coffee, either hot or cold, or tea is fine too, to then your first meal, which would be your lunch. If you can't make it there, that's where you would want to insert those exogenous ketones in there, because they help with the appetite control and they help with the hunger control and all those things. So even though you might see a slight insulin spike, it's nowhere near what you would see if you had an actual meal. Ooh, I got bugs going on here. So it's nowhere near what you would actually see from an actual meal. But it's going to actually boost your blood ketone levels, and it's going to help you extend that to then your first meal at lunch. And now what you're gonna wanna do is get into the habit and routine of that, and then once you do that, you can start moving that ketone pole over and having it then when you would have your lunch, right? So then you're having a longer duration of time when you're just drinking water or just like 1 cup of caffeinated black coffee a day. So your goal would be to just slowly over time start having windows where you can have more water without that chance of having any insulin being released from anything you're drinking. Now, what you don't want to do with the ketones is you don't want to slowly sip them throughout your fasted window. You want to drink it within 30 minutes, because what's going to happen is, remember what I said about what's on your mouth. If you are drinking it within 30 minutes, the insulin response is going to be much less than if you're like literally nursing it all day, which is what I was doing. That was a huge mistake. So you're going to drink it within 30 minutes. During that time you're fasted. When I have ketones now, I literally put it in a glass with ice, I have a straw, and I literally suck it down within minutes. It doesn't take me 30 minutes, but a lot of times people are like, it's so hard to drink these within 30 minutes, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Go with the liquid nat ketones. They're a little bit more sour, less sweet, and you're going to just fill up like a nice cup like this with ice. You can drink it down really quickly. It's going to turn on your focus, your energy, everything, and you're going to get very productive, and it's also going to help you then extend to your next meal. So I was doing this for a while, and that's what led me to this point in my journey where I'm now able to take a long stretch of time where I'm just consuming water, and I am then getting to the point where I'm breaking my fasted window. And I'm going to show you guys the amount of hours that I was fasted water only with just like 1 cup of black coffee. Right here, it's going to be right over here. Okay, so this is showing you from week 1 here's week 1, and here are all of the hours fasted that I did per day. And I opened up my then feeding window. Some days my feeding window was 1 hour, some days it was 2 hours, some days it was 3 hours. I went up to 4 hours at my maximum of my feeding window, and then I started over with just water, okay? And so you can see in this example, it fluctuates every single day. It's not the exact same every day because you don't want your body to start the process of getting comfortable with your new routine. You got to change it up a little bit. So the way you can change it up consistently is maybe doing one day you're going to do a 16-hour fast. The next day you're going to do a 22-hour fast. The next day you're going to do a 20-hour fast. It's not going to be the same exact time windows. Maybe you're breaking your fast at 2 p.m. one day. Maybe you're breaking your fast at 5 p.m. another day, right? One day I did like a long 28-hour fast, right? It brought me into the next day. And then within that eating window, I had all of my meals, my food, within that window. Now here's the thing, as your body starts adjusting your satiety, your hunger, you're gonna get fuller on less. While we don't want to be actively cutting calories because we don't want to impact our metabolic rate, we do want to allow our hormones to do their job. And if your hormones are telling you not to eat so much, that's okay too. You can follow your body's lead. So if you have this huge giant meal and you're like, okay, this is like as much food as I need to eat today in this meal, so I make sure I get all my nutrition. If you can't get through the whole thing, that is okay. You can just follow your body's lead because your body knows better than you do, right? Our bodies are geniuses. So follow your body. So I was having my one meal, and then every day in week 2, I started having a keto dessert, which I'm mixing up with. This is where I'm getting in my ketones now. So instead of drinking my ketones within my fasted window, I'm drinking my ketones within my feeding window. And it's allowing me to have this insanely good dessert that's so good. So what I've been doing is I've been mixing up Keto OS Pro, which is a very low protein keto shake, and it includes those nat ketones within this shake, and there's also MCT in here, and I've been blending that with keto cream, which has collagen, and it's basically making like a nutrient dense shake for me to make sure I'm getting in those micronutrients, electrolytes, all these things that I want to make sure I'm getting in because I'm going these long durations fasted. And I blend that up, ice and water. It's so creamy. It tastes just like ice cream. I put some walnuts on there for the benefits of the walnuts, not just because they taste amazing. And I've been drinking that within my OMAD window, and it's been working out so well. Even if we go out to eat, I've been coming home and I've been mixing up one of these shakes. I do have samples of these. If you want to try them out, I'll put them down below. And if you're brand new to fasting and you want to get to the point where you can have that longer water fast window and you want to ease into it and try out implementing those nat ketones within those periods so that you can do that, I'll also put the link for the samples of those too, because I have all these different packages for you to try out. But I do think it is super helpful for a beginner. Of course, you could just jump straight into it, start doing water, black coffee, and go from there and see how you do. But like I said, if it's difficult for you to start that way because your hormones right now are trained to release the hunger hormones at specific times of the day, and if you're eating more, this is going to improve over time, but it becomes very, very hard. It's better for you to kind of almost like putting training wheels on, right? We want to put training wheels on so that we can get to our goal of riding our bike. And so this is how it helps you. So, all right, 2 weeks of OMAD, because previous to this, like I mentioned, I was making some mistakes with what I was doing during my fasted windows. I talked a lot about that in the last video, so you're gonna want to go check that out. But first 2 weeks, the autophagy is really ramping up, but what I did in week 2 that I did not do in week 1 is I actually started tracking my blood ketone levels. And with my blood ketone levels, it's very interesting, and this is where a lot of times people get so frustrated when they first start like a ketogenic lifestyle or something like that, and they see that their blood ketone levels are low to non-existent. And that does not mean that your body's not burning fat for fuel. It just means your body might be very efficient at utilizing those ketones that are in your blood. Now, the interesting thing is, I checked my blood ketone levels, and I'll give you an example of one of the days. Typically around the 18-hour mark of this entire week, I've been seeing my blood ketone levels ranging between 0.4 millimoles and 0.8 millimoles, which is a low level of ketosis after 18 hours of being fasted with just water. Now, as the example from July 8th, I tested at 9:40 a.m. That was 17 hours fasted. I was at 0.4 millimoles. 12 p.m., that's 19 and a half hours fasted. I was at 0.8 millimoles. Then you jump to 22 hours fasted, and I was at 1.2 millimoles. And then at 4:30 p.m., that was 24 hours fasted. I was at 1.4 millimoles. But throughout this week, a lot of the days, I did not hit 1 point anything. It was around 0.8 for most of the days, even talking 22 or 24 hours later. So don't get discouraged if you're checking your blood ketone levels and you don't see really high numbers. That's okay, but this is gonna self-adjust over time. Yesterday, after I had my OMAD meal and we went out to dinner, and then I came home and I made my dessert shake, I had all of my supplements, which is also really important that you're making sure that you're taking these supplements. I'll put in the description the supplements that I'm using. I do a specific ones for specific reasons. Mostly I'm in the process of also healing my thyroid, and so I'm taking a couple different supplements for that, but then I'm also taking, and these are all just vitamins you can pick up on Amazon, and then I'm also taking a couple others for general health that you need to be taking. So I'll put that in the description below so you can check those out. But I've been taking my supplements when I have that keto shake. So I had my OMAD meal yesterday at 2:18 p.m. and that was breaking my fast at about 19 and a half hours into my fast. And I had some blackened salmon over Caesar salad, and I had some oysters, and there was also some shrimp there too. And then I got home, I took all my vitamins, and then that's when I made my keto shake. Yesterday I did a really good flavor. It's like a mint chip, so literally the shake tastes like mint chip ice cream. And then at 6:45 p.m., that's from the time I ate, that's just a few hours later, I got this urge to work out. And I kind of stopped working out so much just because I don't want to trigger the cortisol. And my plan was just to pick up working out more as time goes on because I was overtraining myself. So I stopped working out as much, but last night I just got this feeling like I really want to go do a workout, and so I did a high intensity training workout for about 25 minutes, 2 hours after I had that keto shake, right? And so I did my workout, I did my lifting workout, and then went to bed, which this is another little tip for you guys. Food, it takes 4 hours for food to digest completely out of your system, right? So when I've been going to bed with these OMADs, there's been no food in my stomach. So my body is able to literally repair cells all night long while I sleep, and I'm able to really get into that autophagy and all of that. But the reason I bring up the workout last night is because this morning I checked my blood ketone levels, and at 19 hours, this previous whole week, my blood ketones have been at 0.8 at the 19-hour mark, or 0.4, 0.6. And this morning at the 19-hour mark, I was at 1.3. So that little 25-minute workout I was just moved to do randomly, I wasn't like planned or anything, really did kick up the ketone production. And we want to be producing ketones because that's basically a signal for your brain. Your brain cannot use fat for fuel, it can use ketones for fuel. And when there's no glucose available for your brain, your body's going to tap into your stored fat stores, and it's going to turn that fat in the liver into ketones, and then ketones can cross the blood-brain barrier, and it's going to then fuel your brain. And so this is a sign that your body is utilizing your own body fat for fuel. So that's where seeing the blood ketone numbers is very helpful, but it's not helpful if it discourages you, because it doesn't mean, like I said, because if I would have checked my blood ketone levels right after the workout, guess what? It probably would have been minimal to nothing, because my body would have used the ketones to fuel that workout, to fuel the energy that I needed for that workout, right? It would have depleted the glycogen stores, and then it would have started using my blood ketones for the workout that I did. And that's why typically after you work out, you don't see very high blood ketone levels, if you read that. So, but doing it in a fasted state where I was a couple hours from a meal, that's not really a true fasted workout, you know, like that I would have been doing at like 18 hours. But doing it that time before bed, I think does have makes a massive impact on fat burning that happens overnight. And so I think I'm gonna like experiment with that, and I might implement that more and more into my routine, daily routine. A couple hours after I filmed this, I actually tested my blood ketones, and I have at the 20-hour mark 1.9 ketone reading, and then at the 23-hour mark 2.3 ketones on this day. So I wanted to just insert this back in here while I'm editing this video, because I think it's really helpful to see how that workout that I did before bed, which normally I was working out in the morning, really did make a huge impact on the next day's ketones. Let's talk about some of the benefits I've seen over these last 2 weeks, guys. I'm telling you, I feel like I've been reborn. I do. I feel so good. I'm not hungry at all. I have zero appetite. I've just been sipping water all day. Like it helps to have a straw like this. I got this from Costco. It came with like a mug too. But like a big giant cup like this, I fill it up with ice and water, and I just sip that water all day long. It keeps me, because I know I need to I have some like oral fixation that I need to satisfy, and just by drinking it with the straw, I get in so much more water, but I'm not drinking so much water that I'm depleting my electrolytes. You really don't have to worry about that unless you're going longer fasts, but because I'm eating 1 meal a day, I am replenishing all of my electrolytes within that window that I'm eating, and especially since I'm utilizing those keto shakes in there too. I've noticed some weird things, like my cuticles. Even my cuticles started I used to have like hangnails everywhere, and they would be really dry and whatever. And I noticed my cuticles, and this is part of the autophagy, I think, starting to get better. My stomach is so flat, and I no longer have the bloating and the swelling and anything like that. Time restricted feeding like this and intermittent fasting, you actually heal a lot of gut issues that you might experience, and also some allergies. Food allergies can disappear. For me, I no longer have a food allergy to dairy. I was having a food allergy to dairy. So my blood allergy test said I had an allergy to different dairy products, and since then, I don't have issues anymore. When I eat anything, I don't have any bloating, I don't have any swelling, I don't have any like gas, I don't have any of that. Fasting increases the diversity of your gut microbiome, and it also changes the population from like the bad gut. And I'm sure you guys have heard that like obese people have a different gut microbiome than like a slim person does. And if you can implant the gut microbiome from the obese person into the slim person, it would turn that person obese, because your gut microbiome has a big impact on your body composition. And so fasting actually helps this, and I've seen it personally with these first 2 weeks. Also, I feel like I look younger. I look at myself now and I'm like, oh my God, I am reverse aging. I look so much better. I look so much younger. My skin texture is different. I feel so much better. I feel younger, guys. Like I feel younger. Also, my sleep quality improved. So this might have to do with, for one, I did drop down my caffeine intake throughout the day. So having just that 1 cup of caffeinated coffee 2 hours after I wake up, and then that combined with going to bed without a full stomach. My sleep, I don't wake up to pee all night long anymore like I used to do before this experiment. I wake up maybe one time to pee in the middle of the night, and that's it. And the next thing is, this might be TMI, this might be too much information, but it has to be addressed. It has to, because it's important, okay? Number two, let's just talk about going number 2 for a second here. I was going every other day on a very regular, consistent basis. I literally tracked it to make sure, to see how often I was going number 2. And since this OMAD, in week 2 of the OMAD, now I go every day, which is crazy. You would think, because you're eating within 1 meal and maybe you're eating less, that you would maybe go to the bathroom less. But I go more. I go every day. That's just telling me my gut is healing. This is telling me my intestines are healing, and issues and things that were going on internally that I can't see, that I can't control, are now being healed. My body is now like, everything's moving the way it should be moving. And so, and there's literally no constipation, and there's no like straining on the toilet or anything like that. That had to be mentioned, because this was that's a big thing to have happen in week 2. The scale, let's talk about the scale and how the scale's been dropping, because it's nuts. So I've been weighing myself every single day, and the reason I am doing that is because if you weigh yourself one day with typical fluctuations and then you don't weigh yourself for like 4 days later, you might be going down, but then on that 4th day you might have an update in the scale, which could be changed due to water fluctuations, that time of the month. Different things could cause the scale to like go up. And so if you don't weigh every day to see that your baseline is going down, you might get discouraged because you might see the scale either not moving fast enough for you, or you could see it actually go up. And especially if you implement working out where you are using weights, your body, when it's fasting, you have increased HGH, which is human growth hormone, which is going to allow you to build more muscle and sustain more muscle than it would otherwise if you were not fasting. And so when you do work out, or even if you're not working out, because the activity of just lifting your kids, going to the grocery store, doing all of these daily activities, your body's still going to build more muscle than it would if you were not fasting. And so you might see this fluctuation on the scale, and that's okay, because the goal should be body recomposition change, not just seeing the number on the scale go down. Anyway, let's get into my scale. Now you can see it went down a steady clip, and every little dot is each day, right? So if you see here, every day I weighed myself, you can see. Now, after we got through the first week, then the scale started kind of going down. It went up a little bit, went down, went up a little bit. The baseline is still going down. That means I'm still burning body fat. Now, here's the thing about fat and burning fat. Your body can only lose up to 3 pounds of body fat per week. Physically, that is humanly what is possible, how much you can physically lose. Okay, so that puts you at a maximum 6 pounds for 2 weeks. Now, we have an additional 3.2 pounds. Where is that? Now, this is water weight, but water weight is good because we want to lose water weight too. Because let me just tell you guys something that I learned this week about water weight. Water weight, your body can actually store water in like a sludge in between your fat cells. And this adds not only bulk, but appears like fat, and your body can hold on to this for an extremely long time. It can be literally stuck there along with your fat cells. And when you start the process of autophagy, burning body fat, and releasing the stored water, your body also releases this sludge. Toxins get released into your bloodstream, but you're going to filter that out and you're going to get rid of that. And so we want to lose water along with fat. We don't just want to lose fat, we want to lose the water too. We want to lose the bloating, we want to lose the swelling, we want to lose all of this. So this is a good thing. I do anticipate my scale slowing down, but I'm not worried about it. Typical weight loss you should be looking for is 1 to 2.5, 3 pounds per week on the scale. Now initially, of course, I'm going to have more of this water weight going, and then I'm going to have more body fat seen on the scale. Now I also track my body fat percentage and my muscle mass percentage. So my body fat percentage, as the scale was going down, went down 1.6%, and my muscle mass percentage went up 1.5%. So I am building muscle, I'm losing fat, and I don't care if this takes me a year. I'm going to keep going on this strategy because it feels so good. I'm not restricted. I don't feel like I'm on a diet, even though I'm sticking to a low carb lifestyle. That's because I know I feel my best when I keep my blood glucose stable, and that's how I have basically been living my lifestyle for years, and I just like that. When I consume any type of carb, however, you know, with the continuous glucose monitor, I am learning some carbs that don't really spike my blood glucose as much. Like I've seen rice in some scenarios not really spike my blood glucose. I've seen potatoes in some scenarios, depending on what I pair it with, not really spike my blood glucose. The goal is to eat whole, real foods. But the point is, I'm eating my typical types of foods that I'm eating, but I am trying to just not restrict myself, but I'm not consuming some things that I'm kind of pushing out and delaying. So with alcohol, I'm not drinking alcohol every single day anymore. I was for a little while there, but now I am doing maybe a glass on a Friday night when we go out for a date night. I'll tell you, I did that on this Friday night. I didn't feel so good. I didn't really like it. That's a personal choice, but if you want to be burning the most fat and you want to heal your liver and get your endocrine system working up to speed and get your hormones activated so that you are promoting the fat burning hormones and you are not accessing the fat storing hormones, then reducing that alcohol down would be ideal to help you get there quicker. Now, your body might be different. You might be able to drink more than me, and you might be able to see things move quicker for you. That's fine. But like I said before, it's not about the speed. We are going to see fluctuations up and down because our bodies, you know, are constantly changing, and we want the body composition, right? Right now, I'm a size 8, okay? Comfortably a size 8. Before this, 2 weeks ago, I was not a comfortable size 8, right? I was probably a size 10 and an uncomfortable size 8. Right now I'm a comfortable size 8, so that's great. And my goal is to get down to like a size, well, I guess my first goal is to get down to a size 6 because I haven't been really a good, like a solid size 6 that's comfortable for a very long time. But then my ultimate goal would be to get to a size 4. I carry a lot of my weight in my hips and my thighs. I have a ton of stored fat that is calories that my body can access, and I can tell you right now my body is on the right track and on the right roll. Now, I utilize specific supplements at specific times to help boost these efforts and these goals. So with the NAT ketones, like I mentioned before, if you're just getting started into this, you can use it as a tool to help you narrow in your feeding window so that you can go longer periods without a solid meal, and that can definitely help you. Now, once you get to that point where you're able to start moving that and you're able to start shifting your ketones over, you can start having your ketones, which they do help you with so many different processes in your body and your overall health, brain benefits, all of these things. You can consume it when you get close to either your eating window, if you want to do just a straight up NAT ketone, or if you want to use products that have the ketones in them. Those, creating that literally like metabolic boosting shake for after your OMAD is a great way to do that too. Or you can have it right before your OMAD, right before you open that window. You never actually have to go down to an OMAD window if you are continuously losing and you're doing great. The only time you start really shifting it in so that you're making such a short window on your food is when your results stall out and you start plateauing. And that's where for me to go from where I am now to where I want to be, that's where I need to make sure I'm resetting my hormones so that I'm not releasing insulin anytime throughout the day, and I'm only releasing it within a controlled time between 1 to 4 up to 5 hours within the day, depending on what day this is. Hopefully this incredibly long video has helped you guys. Now I'm starting to sweat. I live here in Florida. The heat is really cranking up. Right now I am exactly 20 hours fasted. You can see that. Feeling incredible. This is a way of life that I think I'm going to continue for a very, very long time. I'm setting a minimum of a 3-month goal because I think you need to have like a nice long period before you decide if something is working or not for you. Minimum of 3 months, and then from there I will reassess what I'm doing. If I see a stall at this point that lasts longer than 2 weeks within what I'm doing now, I'm going to start implementing a couple different strategies, which include doing longer fasts, like a 36-hour fast 1 time a week. I will start implementing that in maybe like on a Monday or something. Literally, I just skip one of the days that I have one dinner. I just skip that dinner and it would take me to 36 hours. But as of right now, doing the time restricted feeding, 1 meal a day is working really, really well. Make sure you're following me over in Instagram for like minute by minute because I'm so active over there with what I'm eating, what I'm doing. It will help you stay motivated, especially if you're implementing like an intermittent fasting lifestyle into your life. The vitamins, the minerals, everything that I'm taking in the description below, as well as I'll have information on the samples of the different products that I use. You can do this, guys. And also I want to mention, hunger comes in waves. It's not a constant thing. If you do feel hungry, it's like a wave. It crashes and then it moves on and it's over. And so don't stress out about that. If you start feeling a little bit hungry, just try to slowly move your window just a little bit at a time, and then you will eventually get there to the point where you can get to something like this and feel like you're 20 years younger like me. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching this one, and YouTube thinks that you should watch this one next. Take care.